What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today I have a really good video clip to show you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to break this up into two videos. So I'm going to show you the first half today, and then I'll show you the rest of it tomorrow. But CNBC, they did a special where they were talking about where we are right now when it comes to Social Security and Social Security reform. I think they did an excellent job, and we're going to watch this video together, and then I'm going to talk about some of the different topics that they bring up. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification, clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you guys all for your support. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so let's just get right over to this. Now, this is CNBC. They just posted this earlier today, so this is very, very new. But they're going to walk you through the problems that we're having with Social Security. First, they're going to explain what Social Security is, which most of us know, and then they're going to talk a little bit about some of the problems and some of the pitfalls and challenges that Social Security sees right now. So here we go.
Whether directly or indirectly, Social Security has likely touched your life or the life of someone you know. A retired teacher, disabled construction worker, wounded warrior, or maybe the family of someone who passed away. It's more than likely, if you have a full-time job, a chunk of your paycheck goes towards Social Security.
It's the biggest single source of income for American retirees.
So just think about that. The biggest source of income for retirees. So this is, I mean, that's why this is such a huge problem, that we're looking at this insolvency when it comes to Social Security, or at least when it comes to the trust fund, not Social Security as a whole. Because we're looking at that, because that is the challenge. If they start cutting Social Security, if you see politicians start cutting Social Security, that's going to affect millions of people and push millions of people into poverty. So that's why this is a really big deal. Even if you have a retirement plan set up, you're still receiving money from Social Security, and that is helping you in retirement. And if you don't have that money from Social Security, or if that money is cut, it's going to be a disaster for a lot of people receiving Social Security and a lot of people who are retired.
Without Social Security, older Americans would have a poverty rate of 38%. In reality, they have a poverty rate of 10%.
In 2023, nearly 70 million Americans will receive a Social Security benefit every month. For the year, that's more than $1 trillion. It's most crucial for the 22 million Americans it keeps out of poverty. That's including nearly 15 million seniors and 1 million children. It's a lifeline for millions of Americans. But there are some concerns.
Do you know that Social Security is going to be insolvent in 2035?
It is not going to be. That is not true. That is actually not true. No, it's actually not true.
It's not the first time that we've had a discussion on a national level about Social Security's solvency. The good news is that it has been fixed before.
So, is Social Security going to run out? The short answer is no. But if it was as simple as that, we wouldn't have made this 13-minute video.
And we talked about that when it comes to Social Security being insolvent or Social Security going bankrupt. It's very dangerous to use those words, because they're talking about the trust fund. And anytime you hear politicians talk about Social Security going bankrupt, they're talking about the trust fund, but they're not telling us they're talking about the trust fund. So the average person is going to assume that if you say Social Security is going bankrupt, that the whole program will be going bankrupt and there'll be no more money left in the program. And that's not true. But if you say that and people start believing that, then they're going to want to make drastic changes to Social Security. And that's where the danger lies. That's where we could see a situation where people just say, you know what, do away with Social Security. Let's privatize Social Security, or let's make these major cuts to Social Security because it's not going to be there anyway. And you have younger people right now, if they're not following this whole debate when it comes to Social Security, they're thinking it's not going to be there for them. And so they're going to say, you know what, let's stop funding it. Why should I be paying my payroll tax towards Social Security when it's not going to be there for them? When in actuality, it will be there for them. It just might be reduced if they don't make any changes to the program, changes for the good, strengthening the program. So that's something that it's always dangerous when you hear politicians not giving you the complete truth. When they're just saying it's going insolvent, people are thinking it's going bankrupt, it's not going to be there, when the reality is it will still be there, but they do need to make some changes to the program.
The first monthly Social Security check was cashed in 1940 for $22.54. Fast forward to 2022, the average monthly benefit for a retired worker was $1,825. Where does all that money come from? Social Security is largely a pay-as-you-go program. That means today's benefits are funded primarily by the payroll taxes collected from current workers. Self-employed Americans pay 12.4% of their wages to the government, while employed Americans pay 6.2%. That's on everything they earn up to a certain amount. In 2023, that cap is $160,200, and employers match that amount.
Social Security is extremely important for Americans. The Social Security payroll tax is the biggest tax that most Americans pay.
Researchers estimate a single male with average earnings of about $59,000 retiring at age 65 in 2025 will have paid more than $340,000 in Social Security taxes during his lifetime. Those taxes then go into two federal trust funds, the Old Age and Survivors Insurance and Disability Insurance Trust Funds. They're often referred to collectively as the Social Security Trust Fund and are invested in U.S. Treasury securities. Starting in the mid-'80s, the Social Security Administration collected more in payroll taxes and other income than it paid out in benefits and other expenses, and that lasted for more than 3 decades. Asset reserves for the combined funds were at $2.9 trillion at the end of 2020.
Social Security is invested in government bonds, and government bonds are a very safe investment. They're backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, and they do grow over time, and so Social Security has benefited from interest income over time.
Social Security's structure relies on the ratio of workers to retirees. There needs to be enough current workers paying in to fund the benefits of those aging into the program. So what happens when there are more people retiring than there are working and paying taxes? Well, that's exactly what we're dealing with now.
So this is the problem. This is problem number 1. Okay, they're going to go over some of the problems with Social Security. So this is the first one.
Back in 1950, there were 16 workers paying into Social Security for each person collecting benefits. But over time, the aging of the population has reduced that ratio of workers to beneficiaries. In the early 2000s, it was 3 workers per beneficiary. Going forward to the 2030s, it'll only be 2 workers for each retiree. That makes the program much, much more costly to fund.
Due to a decline in the birth rate after the baby boom, we now have more people receiving benefits than we have paying taxes. In 2010, when Social Security's cost was exceeding its non-interest income, the agency had to tap into the interest. That still wasn't enough, and in 2021, the agency started to dip into the actual trust funds. Now, that $2.9 trillion worth of Treasury securities is dwindling. So much so that the Social Security Board of Trustees projected in its annual report that the combined asset reserves of the trust funds will become depleted in 2034. That means if no action is taken before then, millions of Americans will receive only 80% of their benefits.
That would dramatically increase the number of retirees in poverty. So Social Security solvency isn't just a matter of federal bookkeeping, it is a matter of how we protect Americans who depend on this program the most.
At the end of 2022, the asset reserves had reached $2.83 trillion, down about $20 billion from just a year prior. Nearly 9 out of 10 people 65 and older were receiving a benefit as of December 2022.
About 4 in 5 Social Security beneficiaries are older Americans, but 1 in 5 are not. And those people either have disabilities or they lost a parent or a spouse to premature death. That's especially important for children of color who are more likely to lose a parent. It's also very important for over 7 million people with disabilities who get Social Security disability benefits. This is money that people need to pay their rent, to pay for food, to pay for medical expenses.
As we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be started. All right.
Interestingly enough, if you were looking at Speaker McCarthy, he didn't clap. Now, he did clap later, but he didn't clap when President Biden, this was the State of the Union, when President Biden said that it's off the table, right? You saw him kind of, touch his eye, kind of a nervous gesture, in my opinion. I'm not a body language expert, but he didn't clap. And now we're hearing that what's on the table, Social Security, Medicare, they're looking at these programs, this mandatory spending, they're looking at these programs to make cuts. Now, I'm not saying that Speaker McCarthy said that we're cutting Social Security and we're cutting Medicare, but they are leaving them on the table. So they are subject to be cut in the future.
Saving the Social Security program is a bipartisan issue, and there are really only two options: more money coming in or less money going out.
Members of Congress don't want to tell Americans they need to pay higher taxes or receive lower benefits, but that's just the mathematical reality of how Social Security's financing works.
So let's start with more money coming in. That means the revenue sources would need to see some changes: workers paying more in taxes, or the Social Security fund invested in a different way.
If we finance Social Security with the money from the stock market, that's going to make the federal budget less stable. It's going to make recessions and stock market downturns much more damaging to the federal budget.
Another way to bring more money.
Okay, so that first one, investing in the stock market. Now, we've talked about this. Right now, you have senators, a nonpartisan group of senators trying to put a bill together, and part of that bill is to invest in the stock market. And so you heard what this gentleman just said here. He was saying that it would make our economy less stable, because if we have so much money, federal, money for Social Security in the stock market, then those swings are really going to affect millions and millions of people. And so that's why it's really dangerous to invest in the stock market. Now, right now, Social Security, like they were saying, they invest in bonds, and those bonds are secured, and so it's less risky. But if you put it in the stock market, now we're looking at a situation where we could see a lot of people in turmoil if our economy just crashes, if the stock market crashes.
And is through higher taxes. One supported plan is to increase the current cap on contributions, which, as I mentioned earlier, is about $160,000 each year.
Back in the 1980s, the Social Security payroll tax was set at a level that covered 90% of earnings in the economy. But because we've had so much inequality growing over the past 40 years, now the Social Security cap is such that it only covers 83% of wages in the economy. We're missing out on a lot of revenue from workers who are very comfortable and who would be able to contribute more. If Social Security's tax cap had simply stayed at that same level, covering 90% of earnings in the economy, it would be $300,000 today. And if we simply increased that, that would go a long way to restoring some of the fiscal balance to the program.
Now, this is very, very important to point out. They're talking about raising the cap, and we've heard talk about this. Politicians talking about raising the cap, so that $160,200, anything more than that, you can tax those people as well. That's more revenue that can come in, because in the past, about 90% of people who were working were paying into the payroll tax, but now it's about 83%. So they're losing money, because right now you have more people that are over that threshold, that $160,200. They're making more money, and so once they get over that $160,200, the rest of the money that they make, they don't have to pay into the payroll tax. Because of the income inequality, you have more people making more money, more people over that threshold.
Let's get to our other option: less money coming out. The idea of cuts might not be unilateral. Some experts are in favor of changing the way benefits are paid out, gradually scaling down benefits for middle and upper income retirees, and increasing benefits for the bottom third.
Today, the maximum Social Security benefit you can receive is about $43,000 per year. That's far above the poverty threshold. Over time, it makes sense to transition Social Security to focus more on preventing poverty in old age and less on paying benefits to high-income people. At the same time, the government should ensure that every worker is offered a retirement plan on the job and everyone is signed up for that plan. So even as Social Security benefits are scaled down for middle and upper income workers, the increase in retirement savings on their own would make up for the losses.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop it there. I'll play the rest of this video probably tomorrow. But that last part was interesting too, just to talk about, because we heard Chris Christie in his town hall debate talking about this whole thing. And what Chris Christie was saying is you need to balance things out. So if you have people below the poverty line and that they're on receiving Social Security benefits and they're really struggling, bring them up. And then the people at the top that are receiving more benefits, cut them down a little bit so it kind of evens things out. So that's another strategy that we're hearing talked about. So I'm going to continue the next video tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but I just wanted to show you this CNBC video because I think they did a really good job of just laying out the what Social Security is, what problems it's having, and how to fix it moving forward. So we'll watch the rest of it tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.